Bill, welcome to the podcast, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you very much for having me. How
Of
are you?
course. So I appreciate you taking the time, man. Look, today I really want to go through your story and how you got into sales. But the first question I want to ask is you've built your brand around turning objections into opportunities.
Mhm.
What do you think the number one mistake you see closers make when they're handling objections?
Well, there's a couple. Number one, they don't have a skill set, they don't have a process, they don't have a repeatable model. And that will induce a lack of confidence, certainty, and conviction, which is never going to help any prospect overcome their own insecurities, fears, or limitations. That's the first thing. So they're not being taught, they're not being educated, and they're not being built from the ground up. Is the big step and the big issue that I see constantly, day after day.
How did you get into sales? What took you down this route?
How did I get into sales? Like everybody, nobody wakes up saying to themselves, I want to be a great salesperson. Um, COVID was the kind of catalyst for me. It was, what we needed to do at that time. A friend of mine had a fitness business and got in and kind of helped him out with some of that. And I sold more in the first week selling training than I was in the gym as a PT. And then the penny dropped. I was like, I think we're in the game, but we're just playing the game wrong. And the rest is history, as they say. That was early 2020, just coming out of COVID. And then I started in sales full time in January of 2021.
And what was that transition like? Because I know you were a PT, and I feel like a lot of the greats have come from the fitness space.
Yeah.
What do you think translated over getting into fitness?
I think the whole great transition from fitness into sales is like when you're in fitness, you're asking somebody to do something they don't fundamentally want to do. They don't want to get fit. They don't want to put in the hours. They don't want to, do the training, stick to the dieting. They don't want to do any of that stuff. But our job is to fundamentally get them out of their own way and get them to see a bigger picture that they're unwilling and incapable of getting to themselves. So I think a lot of great salespeople are in a position where they're helping people do something they don't want to do because you can negotiate and you can navigate a conversation and a process, getting somebody out of their own way into a position where they fundamentally are doing something that they don't want to do for a greater cause, which is get fit, healthier, and happier. So I think a great amount of salespeople come from that world or have done lots of hard different jobs because you're used to being able to get people out of their own way. So that's a good transition and a good exchange of skill sets, I would say.
Would you recommend people getting into sales to start there?
Would I recommend what?
Like people that are getting into sales to start with fitness?
I would, in a capacity of fitness sales, it's a good place to get yourself lots of volume, but getting yourself in a position where you're asking somebody to do something that they want to do, but they don't want to do it, if that makes sense. They want to be fit, they want to be healthy, they want to look in the mirror and have a six pack, but they don't want to do the work to get there.
Mm.
So you're negotiating with their emotions, you're negotiating with their, concepts of what they need to do every day, which is a big thing.
And how long were you selling fitness before you moved on?
Years. So I was in military from the age of 18 up until 21. And then from 21 until 28, I was in fitness, selling or coaching and running gyms and shit like that. And then COVID hit then and then the rest is history. So
And then
in a
when
year.
you jumped in, you went from selling fitness for your buddy, right? Because you jumped online, COVID was happening.
Yeah.
That was the move to make. How long
Yeah.
were you selling that for? How long were you
Well,
with that?
I had already had experience selling my own programs online. So that's why we ended up doing a little bit of business together. And at that time, he was selling push ups, jumping jacks, and sit ups because there was no gyms open. It was all body weighted stuff. And he was selling it for £79 at a time per month. And he's like, I'll give you 50% of this. I will give you £35 for every sale that you make. I was like, okay. So then it was just one boom, boom, boom all along. And I think we did like 32 sales in the first week. I was like, okay, we got something here. So that's how we kind of ended up in that. And then I did that for the rest of 2020, we used to do some stuff with James Cant over there in Australia. Used to do some work with a man called Vincent Del Monte, Profit for Contractors, back in the Sales Sniper days. And then I ended up in seventh level. And then that's when the whole world kind of took off for us as such. That was
What
many, many
changed?
moons ago. What changed was the right opportunity, the right people, the right offer, the right marketing, the right, space, the right skill sets, the right personality, the right avatar. It all just kind of came together in a fucking clusterfuck of fuck this, get out of my way, watch this. So that's what happened. Yeah, salespeople are different. Like I'm a salesperson by heart. You know, I'm a pig-headed Irishman, in your face, loud, brash. But that's what salespeople need. They need a fucking kick in the nutsack to get out of their own way. So it was a match made in heaven with me and
When
all.
you, I think one of the famous things I have seen you say is when you
Mm,
got into seventh level, you were following their stuff for a bit, and then you got to a point you're like, nah, I'm gonna go back and follow my way because what I was
yeah,
doing was working.
yeah,
How did you have the bullocks to do that? Like you're working with the at the time one of the best sales trainers that's around,
yeah.
right?
He's still the number one guy in the market. He's still the top of the food chain, Jeremy. He's still the top of the pyramid. There's no denying that, and I would be foolish enough to say he's not. He is, which is awesome. Good for him. But like every empire, they eventually fall. That's how it works. Um, I I did 3, 4 sales calls, and I was like, this fluffy, puffy fucking shit ain't my style. It ain't my personality. Um, and there was a great word that I always joke about with people. It's like the rationale. What is the rationale for you wanting to do this now rather than just doing A, B, and C? I'm like, I've never heard of that word before. I'm a dumb Irishman. I'm in your face. You know what I mean? I'm like going to directly
Yeah.
speak to your soul. And you're asking me to use a word that I've never heard before. The rationale of this. And I'm like, I didn't even know what that word means. Never mind how to say it properly with enough conviction. So I was like, yeah, we ain't doing this. Um, and that whole fluffy puffy, building rapport, working on your tonality, real connection and all of this other fucking horseshit, don't work with salespeople. Straight up. It don't work with salespeople. Now, to learn that and give it out to a B2C market or a B2B market, that's great. That works. But to actually sell a salesperson on sales training with the huff, puff, and fluff will never work. It's like, I got to look at you like a drill sergeant. You're a fat, overweight piece of shit. I'm going to tell you you're a fat, overweight piece of shit until you actually make a change. That's how it works with salespeople. Because if I'm like the huff and the puff and I'm like, you're at 6K, you want to get to 10K, we could potentially help you, maybe could get you there. What do you think? Salespeople are going to like, fuck you.
Yeah.
That's what happened after 3 or 4 calls. And I was like, right, in order to make this a success and in order to get paid, in order to have a chance at this, I'm going to have to go directly to people's souls and speak to them like they need to be spoke to and what most people are afraid to speak to them like. And that's how it works. The first month I did 53 sales, second month was 72 or 3, and it just kept going and going from there. So you have to know what you're dealing with. You have to know the avatar. You have to know how people want or need to be spoken to. Everybody wants to be spoken to with a kindness and a like, we're all okay and the world is going to be okay and all this great stuff.
Mm.
But how you need to speak to people is what they actually need, what rather than what they want. And salespeople are very much like that, you know. You
I
can
get that,
imagine
man.
somebody that's 40 pounds overweight, when you say to them, like, you could really lose this weight if you just took it one day at a time and lost 1 pound a week. The overweight person that has struggled with their weight for pretty much their entire adult life are going to look at you and be like, I've heard this before. I've done this before. Whereas I'm like, I'm going to put a gun to your most beloved person's head and I'm going to pull the trigger if you don't lose a pound every single week for the next 40 weeks. What do you want to do? What's your decision? Now, of course, it's not that extreme, but I'm just giving you an example. Do you understand what I'm saying to you?
Sure.
It's like you have to make the need, want, and desire so fucking irrelevant that the action is going to be done anyway, regardless of how they need, want, or
Mm.
desire, in terms of how they feel on a day-to-day basis. So when I use things like, who do you need to become in order to get your family to where you want to be? What is that type of person that you're not right now and that you're afraid to be honest with yourself? What does that person need to do right here in order to actually produce and get your family to the life that you said you would give to them all those years ago? And believe me when I tell you, we're not doing the huff and the pluff and the could and the would and the should, potentially and the maybes. It's like toe the line, do the work, earn the respect, make the money, give your family a great life, or don't. What do you want to do? You understand what I'm
Man,
saying?
it takes
Black or white.
100 Oh, 100%, Bill. Like, I think back to be honest, myself, when I was 15, I was about 120 kilos, 5'8". So, a little oompa loompa, if you will.
Yeah.
And it was exactly that. I had a best friend who said, look, you can be a fat piece of shit the rest of your life,
Yeah.
or you can just get in the fucking gym. And he pushed me and was that straight, hard line. It was the first taste I ever had that in my life.
Yeah.
And it was the thing that changed everything.
Correct. Yeah. And this whole, like, we see it in the world, Liam, at the moment where we're pandering to people and we're like, you want to pretend that you're a flower and you want me to call you a butterfly flower or a sunflower, whatever else. Like, let's do that. But when 1% of the world impacts the other 99 and we're bending the 99 to suit 1%, it's like there's going to be a slapback. There's going to be a clapback of like, we ain't doing this no more. And I think we need to get back to being honest with people and telling them the truth, not telling them that it's okay to be overweight, not telling them that it's okay not to be able to pay your bills, not telling them that the world is going to owe you something because you're just working. There's a level of dog eat dog in this world that needs to get back onto the fucking playing field. Because when we do, you either step up and match that energy or you fuck off. That's it. And that's my level, and that's what I hold the line with every day. And if you want the fluff and the puff and the nice stuff, fuck off over there and do it. But don't fucking impact me over here.
What made you take the jump and go out on your own?
I didn't. I got fired. It wasn't a case of, oh, I'm this. It was like,
Why'd you get fired?
well, I got fired because poor management, poor poor leadership. Um, somebody didn't want to share the limelight. Somebody, I was on calls, and this is God's honest truth. I would be on calls with people, and people would say to me, "I don't want to train." Uh, I'm very conscious of not using names and stuff like that because I don't want to get into a legal
Sure.
battle with people. But I don't want to train with that type, but I just want to train with you.
Mm.
And that wasn't my fault. I wasn't going out of my way, putting a fork in the ground and saying, this is where I am. It's like people gravitate to what they want in life. That's how it works.
Of course.
So I got fired because, number one, I wouldn't sign a contract that stipulated that I was an employee without any employer's rights. The first
Definitely
thing,
not.
people don't tell that. People don't tell that side of the story and that truth, and I will because I don't give a fuck. There was a contract put in front of me and over 100 salespeople. I was the only person not to sign that contract. And that contract stipulated that I had to provide my own equipment. I got no holiday pay. I got no sick certs. I got no help with tax. And I had to turn up as an employee. Now, I don't know about you, Liam, but I come from a standard of like, if you're going to ask me to be an employee, then there's going to be an employer's rights that you have to also give me too. So that
Of
was the
course.
first knock off. The second knock was obviously people were coming to me directly on a call that a company was paying marketing for and that they didn't want to do that. The third part of this was um, when we were coaching, they wanted to take 75%, if not 80% of the revenue that was generating, kick me 20. See, people don't tell that story either, and I can and I will. So, and I have it all listed out. There's emails and all that great stuff if people want to go through the actual logistics of it. But the biggest thing is like there was a personality kind of like combativeness.
Conflict.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah. And that's okay. That's life. That's great. But I'd rather people tell the truth
Happens.
and be honest. Certain people didn't want someone else to be. you know, shining the light, if that makes sense. And that's okay. When you put a bird in a cage and you keep feeding the bird, but you don't let the bird out of the cage, there's only two things that are going to happen. The cage is going to break because the bird is getting too big, or or the bird is going to eventually die. So
Sure.
the bird, i.e., the Billy boy, got too big and was like about to pop the cage open. I was like, I'm going to open up my wings, my friend. Either we can do it together, which I want to do. I never wanted to leave. Um, that's really important. I never wanted to leave. I was actually in a position where I was going to move there and run the office from Arizona. I didn't want to leave, but it is what it is. That's life. I wouldn't have been able to do what I did if I didn't have all of that happen, and I wouldn't have been in a position where we've made all the money that we made and coached nearly 3,500 people. So everything happens for a reason, and I'm very proud and I'm very honored to have spent time there. And, I'm very appreciative of everything that I was able to have there, and, the exposure and, you know, the opportunity to go and shine. So it's what it is.
Walk me through your mind when it came and they said, "Hey, mate, it's done."
Yeah.
What went through your mind? Like, how quickly was the switch of like, "Yeah, this is on."
I kind of knew it was going to go that way because the relationship had just strained itself too much.
Sure.
I knew it was never going to be a long-term solution. I actually went and I spoke to Jeremy at the time. I said, just let you know, I'm going to get fired here over the next number of months. And he was like, there's no way we're going to fire you. I have the messages. There's no way we're going to fire you. You make too much money for us and you're too successful for us. I was like, just bear this in mind because I know it's going to happen because your business partner at that time and me, we're not working because he wants me to be here. I wasn't born to be here, my friend. I'm born to be here up top. I'm just letting you know. If you want to share that with me, brilliant. I want to build with you. I could have built the objection box in 7-Eleven.
Yeah.
I could have took that company from where they are to fucking new heights because I would have had the whole foundation. We had a process and a process and a process, and then we could have built it out the bottom. So I knew it wasn't going to work before it happened, 6 months beforehand. Um, so when it was final, I think the operation manager came and told me. I was like, what? On a Friday evening or something, or Thursday evening or something. He's like in the car going to pick up his kid. He didn't even do it in a professional setting like we are right now. He's not in an office, like on the blower over his phone. Hey, we're out. You're out. I was like, what does that mean? I just want you to articulate what that actually means so I know what you're saying. You're being let go effectively immediately from both positions in sales sniper and 7-Eleven. I was like, okay, cool, brilliant, thanks very much. And I was like, can you just tell me why? And he said A, B, and C. I was like, yeah, but actually tell me why. And he's like, what do you mean? I said, well, this is actually why. Agreed? And he's like, yeah. I was like, okay, cool, no problem. So I knew. And then I took a week off. And
Recoup time.
yeah, I took a week off. I made enough money. I was going from a PT to making this. It's like, and I was doing
Yeah.
that. It was like, okay, cool, no problem. I do. And then I made one post online about like, thanking and being respectful. And I'm like looking for my next, place where I want to go and work. And I got like, 12 offers in like a day of going, hey, do you want to run this company? Hey, do you want to take over the sales team? Hey, do you want to partner on this? Hey, do you want to run this insurance company? Hey, we want to do this. What do you think? So I had 12 offers in a day and from one fucking Facebook post. And then I decided, you know what? I really like coaching. Like I would coach even if I wasn't paid, the amount I got paid. So I built the objection box and one post again, um, looked for, I think it was 10 salespeople, but I ended up with 21, 22. And then within the first month, we had another 40 people join. So we had over 60 people, 70 people in the first 30 days. And then over the next 3 months, we'd build over $1 million in cash. We haven't really slowed down since. So everything happens for a reason in life, I think, you know?
Mate, there's been some of the absolute new generation, I'll call them greats, have come through your program. You
Mm,
know, I think of the looks of Adam Taylor. I think of Christian Jack, who I personally admire a lot.
mm.
And a lot of the different guys that I speak to, they look up to you. And not only look up to you, but they look up to your style, your methodology. And I think more than anything, just being able to tell people the bloody truth,
Yeah.
just having a real conversation.
Mm.
And it's not the easy conversations, but the bloody hard conversations.
Yeah,
What do
yeah.
you think allowed you to get such crazy results for the people, not just yourself, but the people that came and learned from you?
Yeah, like, and I appreciate you saying that. Anyone that has shook a tree over the last fucking 3 years, pretty much 75% of them can be traced back to the objection box of my name. That's fucking facts. That's like, if you want to argue that, well, we can argue it, and I can just show you facts, and I can show you figures, and I can show you names. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, number one, there's a clear step-by-step process that I go through all the time with people. It's like you can drive, Liam, right? You can drive a car.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So after a period of time, like after 2 months of learning how to drive a car, you had an idea of how to do it. You get in the car, you fucking put your seatbelt on, you turn the key, you put it into gear, you look right, no car coming, hit the indicator, you're out, you're gone. It's the same thing in sales. And people are always looking for the fancy new this, the fancy new that. No, dickhead, it's a system, it's a process, it's a consistency. And once you give somebody a system, a process, and a consistency, and it's like, just keep doing the same thing over and over again. And let's keep making tweaks where we need to make tweaks. Let's come back, give me some calls, let me see what you're doing. I'll show you how to do it better and keep going, make all the money. That's how it works. It's not fancy. It's like do A, do B, do C. Once you get A, B, C and you're making 20, 25K, come and let me know. I'll show you the dark arts. And that's how I'll bring it to 40 and then beyond. Very simple. People overcomplicate it and people are like, I found this new way of figuring out how to do a discovery that doesn't actually call it discovery. And now it's a fucking. You're like, no, you're just a fucking retard repurposing and put a new name on something that has already been done for hundreds of years. It's like, I remember when I started, it was like a guy, I can't remember what his name was, like, I'm going to show you how to pitch in the first 5 minutes so you don't waste your time and you keep your energy. So I was like, and I'm going to call it this. I'm like, so basically you're pitching before you ever tell people what they want, need, or desire, and before you can tell them what you can do to help them. Well, that's not fucking going to work, is it? And it didn't work. And they all get flushed out. They all end up in a 97 school group. 97 months school group. That's how it works. And I've seen it hundreds of times. Is what it is. And then I'm like, do you know what? I'm not even going to charge you 97. I'm going to give it away for free. And I did. So I'm petty. I'm petty like
Bill, when you launch, right? Like
that.
it I don't obviously there's some people that have launched sales trainings and done them well. You know, I think of like Cole Gordon when he did RCA getting people in. You know,
Yeah.
he launched that and grew that pretty quickly with Brian.
Mm,
But I know it took them, you know, a good I think 11 months before they hit their first like $1 million month or $1 million in cash.
yeah.
Um, I'm curious, what do you think allowed you to move so quickly?
Firstly, Cole is probably one of the best business minds in the entire industry. I think of Cole, I think of uh, Hormozy. I think they're in the ballpark. I think those guys are pretty much in a league of their own. When I think of Cole, I think Cole is a fantastic businessman. We now you're talking cash collected of 1 million a month. I had 4 months of 250, 350, 150, and it's like combined to make $1 million in the first 4 months of business. So they're completely different things. Um, but what I would say at that time was I solved a big problem that no one was capable of solving in the market. You think of all of the people before I came into the industry. Everybody wanted to talk about objectionless closes. And if you do A,
Yeah.
B, and C right, you won't get an objection. And then most of these fucking freaks were getting objections. So it's like you told me how to prevent an objection, but when I got an objection, I didn't know how to handle an objection. So now I'm going to lose a sale. You know what I mean?
Uh,
My job is like, I want you to be prepared for when the worst shit happens. You're already prepared. So now we can actually prevent it from happening. So I go back to my military days. And when you're in military, you do shit until you know how to do it without with your eyes closed. Because
okay.
when the shit pops off, if I had to go to war or if I had to go and stop somebody stealing a bag of money, I already knew how to load up the gun, cock the gun, and point the gun and shoot the gun. So it's like get so prepared that you don't need to, but when you do need it, you're already prepared.
Mm.
Whereas most people are like, I'm going to give you a gun, but I'm never going to show you how to shoot it because I'm going to show you how to de-escalate shit. But what happens when someone comes along and is like, well, I'm willing to use my gun. You're not willing to use your gun. And what's going to happen now, dickhead? So it's like you can spend all the time preventing shit, or you can spend all the time learning how to fucking overcome shit. And then you can spend some time preventing it if you want. But at least get yourself in a position where you know if shit pops off, you're ready to take care of it. That was my philosophy. And everyone was like,
Mm.
let's not do that because that's really hard. And I actually don't know how to, I don't know how to coach that. And I don't really know how to do that myself. And I can name them all. So I'm just not going to do that. And
Mm.
all of these young guns that are popping off now with this is how you overcome this objection. I coached them all, or they've learned it, but they have. It's like, yeah, because I've shown you how to do it, you fucking retard. Like, show me some USP. This is the problem. It's like, what is your USP? So you talked about Cole. Cole's USP was like, I'm going to take you from a 9 to 5, make you really good at sales, give you a job, and you're going to make your first 10K a month online. That's how it popped. That's how it went to a million and beyond because he had a USP. You think of Jeremy. Jeremy's USP is NEPQ. And that's how his popped off. Mine popped off because I'm going to show you how to close deals and become a leader and overcome every objection under the sun. USP. So if you bring a company out to the market, if you don't have a USP, you're just going to get buried in it, unfortunately, over a period of time. That's how it works.
And you talk a lot about control and certainty.
Mm.
How do you teach reps to stay in control, without coming off, I don't want to say aggressive, but like without like the difference between being real and just laying down the line and
Mm.
being a fucking asshole.
Sometimes it's okay to be an asshole.
True.
Sometimes, like you, at that time when you were fat and overweight, and I hate that word, but it's important that we are honest with each other. You were overweight and you were probably a little
Oh,
bit too chunky. I don't like
massively.
the AT word. Yeah, at that time, you probably said, this guy's being a real asshole to me. But as it sunk in and as you lost your weight over the next 12 months, you looked at that man as like, you probably saved my life. You gave me a chance to be happy in life. Because I know there's not one person on this earth that's happy overweight. That's the
No.
first. The second issue, I know there's not one person on this earth that's working in a 9 to 5 or an online capacity, working full time, not making the money that they want to make, and is also happy with what they're producing. So that's just the facts. So there's a fine line between just being an asshole and telling somebody the truth, and they perceive it as you being an asshole, but they actually listen to what you're saying. That's what I'm saying to you. So it's like if you're doing it for the right reasons, and you're doing it because you care about somebody, and you're doing it because you want somebody to make a better decision. I always tell people like you're always going to get a kickback of somebody. You're always going to get somebody to complain about how you said something. That's like inevitable. But you will far greater help more people if you're honest with people rather than that one little fucking fluffy headed freak that wants to complain because you told him the truth. You know what I mean?
And do you think that's what most closers are completely missing?
Well, they don't have brass balls, firstly, and they're not certain of themselves. They're not looking in the mirror and saying to themselves, I'm a leader in my own capacity. They come to
Mm.
work and they put on their makeup and they look at this industry and sales as a capacity of like, this is how I'm going to make all my money. So they're doing it with the wrong intentions. My intention at the start of every sales call was to how do I help this person? Whereas most people look at sales calls and how they go into offers as like, oh, I'm going to sell a 10K offer. I'm going to make 10%. I'm going to make $1,000. Where I'm like, yeah, well, what are we solving first? That's how I look at offers. Is like, what's the problem I'm solving? Would I want to buy this problem if I had this issue? Would I want to buy the solution that I'm offering to this problem if I had this issue? And then the third thing
Mm.
is like, okay, well, where's the volume? What are we doing? How does it look? And then it's like, okay, what commission do we get? So like I've already done three layers down of like what is the problem I'm solving. Whereas most people make decisions about finances and how much money they can make, and then that's how they make no fucking money because all they're focused on is money rather than helping. Completely different.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What is that saying? It's like watching the pot and watching the pot never boils or something around that. You know what I mean?
yes, it's the whole concept of like if you ever ask the person, why did you join that offer? They'll be like, well, they're making X and I can make Y.
Mm.
Would it not be, why did you join that? Well, like they're really helping all of these people, and I'm, you know, I'm proud to sell and help somebody find a solution to that problem. You know what I mean? Every offer
Yeah.
that I've ever gone on to, or every offer that I've coached or done consultancy for, it's like, what is the problem you're solving? If you come and you tell me we have a YouTube channel where we show people how to create financial freedom from a faceless YouTube channel, I'm like, get the fuck out of my face. But if you say to me, um, we're a company that help dads find confidence and certainty in themselves again so they can reconnect with their kids and be the best leader in their home. I'm like, that's going to make an impact on people's lives. I care about that stuff. That's what I want to do. I want to help people. You know what I mean? So it's like you got to do things for the right capacity. Most of these people out there are not doing it for the right capacity. They're not doing it for the right reasons. And after a while, believe me when I tell you, if you're just chasing money, you're going to chase it forever and you'll never be happy in anything. And I've made it. I've made what I need to make. I'm 32 years of age. I can clearly step away if I want to right now because I've done all that I needed or wanted to do in life. You know, so it's doing it for the right intentions, but it's also we got to set the right intentions at the front of a conversation and at the front of somebody's entering into this space, which I think we are now getting back to.
It's an interesting landscape last year,
Mm,
looking at 2024. It was
mm,
very interesting within the high ticket space specifically.
yeah.
I'm excited for 2025. It feels like a
You better hurry up, buddy. We're nearly 4 months into it already. You better hurry up. Yeah. Fuck, your Q1 down already, my friend. If you're looking to the rest of 2025, we're already one down. You got to come back to the game.
yeah.
Yeah, you're right. There's a shift happening. There's a shift happening in this industry, which is good. It needs it.
What aspects of the game have changed for you? Like I know objection handling at its forefront, and like you said, it's not about new tactics. But is there anything that has shifted in your beliefs over the last 3 years?
Yeah, it's like we've set the wrong intentions for people. Like people for years came into this industry thinking that they're going to make all the money under the sun working 2, 3 hours drinking a pina colada. Whereas like, no, you got to get yourself in an office and you got to work 10 hours a day. That's it. And like, we got to get people into the understanding of that's what it's going to take to get to the dizzy heights of hundreds of thousands a year. You know, there's 10 hours, 8 hours of solid work a day, 1 hour of training, and 1 hour of education. That's the minimum I require of all my guys. That's it. 10 hours a day, 50 hours a week. If you're not able to do it, you're not your guy. Don't work with me. That's a standard. That is the line that we hold all the time. If you do not hold that line, then you're not going to get what you want out of this, which is financial freedom. The game. So I think the right intentions have to be set, but also the truth has to be told. You know, I think a lot of people are finding out that there's not many great offers out there. And then it's a battle of who's the best, where most people aren't the best, which is good.
It's funny. I find I recently put up a post similar as you did a few years back when you were looking for your first offer, and I just put up a post. I was like, "Hey guys, looking for my next opportunity." And within the span of like 6 hours, there's 8, 9 different companies reaching out, like, "Hey Liam, like we'd love to come work with you." And yet I
Yeah.
have someone that'll be brand new or been in the industry 12 months and they struggle to get onto their next opportunity. They
Yeah.
absolutely struggle. What do you think is the biggest shift there?
Well,
Like
the
some
problem,
people they grinding and they just still aren't doing shit.
yeah, because they're not very good at what they're doing. Like, be honest, this is like the hardest thing you'll do beyond professional sports. Like, this is what it is. You're an entrepreneur. All these salespeople think they're salespeople. They're not. They're entrepreneurs. They're businesses in their own little capacity. And a business in its own capacity have to solve three problems. You got to sell, you got to market, and you got to keep fulfilling on the promises that you said you would do. And that's what the problem is they just come to the game and just like, I'm just going to take the calls that are on my calendar. I'm not going to do anything else. Well, that's okay. And then when you go and have another offer, you want to, like, your offer starts to die down, you're not going to have anything else. So there's three concepts that I give people all the time, and it's called the three R's. I have everything in threes and twos. Um,
Keep it simple.
yeah, it's very simple. Results, yeah, reputation, which will build your relationships. So your results are very important. So you got to be very good at what you do, okay, which is really important. You got to tell people that. The second thing is you got to build your reputation. So that's your friends and your colleagues. And you got to post. You got to build a social media marketing system, which is like you got to put yourself in the right rooms. You got to show people what you do based on your results. And then after a period of time, what tends to happen is you get to build relationships with people that come to you rather than you going and chasing. And that takes time. It takes time to build your results. It takes time to build your reputation. It takes time to build your relationships. But once they're built and people know, then you're never going to be in a position where you're wanting rather than you get to choose. That's the key. People don't want to do it. And they're like, I just want to make all the money and I don't want anyone to know my name. It's like, okay, let me know how that goes. You know what I mean?
How important, like piggybacking on that,
Mm.
how important do you see personal branding being at the beginning when someone's getting in and as they're
Not
wanting to
very,
grow throughout?
not very good because you could have the best personal brand in theory, but what's it based on?
Sure.
Has to be built on something. That's why I say to you, you got to go out there and build your results first before you ever go make a post. I got, I see people all the time take what I say and like run it to the moon. I just set my first call in my first role. I am so excellent at what I do. It's like, and then it's like I go to the market with that. It's like, what are you doing? It's like I'm looking for my next opportunity. You got to stack the results so thick that people know. That's how you build your reputation, and it's your reputation that actually builds everything else. Like if you went and you asked 50 people that are in this space who we are, most of them probably have an idea of who I am, which is a reputation. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that reputation is built great or relationships where I can walk in and take a percentage of a company if I want to, because the results and the relationships have already been built back off the reputation. So it's like you have to do it right. It's like building a house. You have to build the foundation. People are like, I need to build this house within 2 weeks because it's the rain is coming and I need to get started. Well, it's like it's gonna all fall apart. And you only get one or two chances to build it right. And if you keep building it wrong, you're gonna get associated with not a nice building, which is a bad reputation and your results. Do you know what I mean? It's the same thing when people are building a sales training company. It's like, but what are you gonna build it on? And they're like,
Mm.
I'm just gonna build it on, you know, taking your call from 45 minutes to 42. Great. See how that goes. It has to be built on something really substantial, really, thick and juicy.
Mm.
Most people don't know.
Bill, where are you taking objection box? Like what is your future
To
plan?
the top. It's either the top or nothing. It's either the top or I fail.
What does the top look like to you though?
Top means I walk into any amount of organizations or problems or places or whatever else, and people know exactly what we are based on who they see. And we're getting there. Been in the industry for 2 years, coming up on 3 years now in June. I would like to say we've rattled a fair amount of fucking trees. We've pretty much
Just a
established
couple.
ourselves. Yeah, and that's okay. I don't mind. Um, because I'm building a family nucleus and I'm building a company that takes care of people and produces a great results and doesn't promise the sun, the moon, and the stars, but deliver everything and more. Most people want to talk about what they're going to do. I just did what I was supposed to do. That's the difference. But it's the top or it's nothing. It's the top or else we fail. And that's how it goes. There's a man ahead of us, and my job is to take him out. That's how it works. Everyone else is just nice. That's the game. And that's the game that we chose to play, and that's great. And only the strong will survive.
As it should be.
And that's the same thing when all you guys are going for job interviews or you're trying to get onto great opportunities. Only the strong survive. There's no person that's making the money that you want to make is going to look at you in the eye and say, you come and you take my family's money, you sit in the chair, you make the money, and I'm going to go make the money you made. It's like, you're fucking stupid if you think that's what's going to happen when you get up the train. People are so fucking idiotic. It's not even funny. Like, it's like, you're out of your mind if you think someone is going to take 20K out of their bank account every month, out of their family, and hand it to you, and then they're going to
Mhm.
go make your six. You're fucking tapped in the head. It's never going to work. It's like, you out of your mind to think that I'm going to sacrifice my family for your family to get fed. You're fucking stupid. And if you come with that attitude and that energy, I'm going to bury you in the ground. That's what people don't understand. Like, this is a dog eat dog world. And like, no, we're all going to be friends. We can all be local. We can all be, yeah, you can. You can all gang up if you like, which tends to happen all the time. All the lesbians start to club together. I see them. Um, but when the tide goes out, I see who's naked and I see who's what, you know. So that's where we want to go. I want to be, and we're going to keep rocking and rolling. Like, I'm 32 years of age. I compete against guys who are 46 years of age, nearly 50. It takes time. It takes time to establish yourself with the top dogs. Anyone else is just nice, honestly. So that's where we're going. We want to be associated with the top guys when it comes to sales, development, education, knowledge, experience, training. We want to encompass it all. We don't need 75 different people in the company to be able to fucking pierce the market.
How big is your company? How many guys you got rocking on?
About 15. We got about 15. We're a very tight knit group. And that's only grown. I didn't know. The problem I have, Liam, is this, and this will give you some context.
Please.
I get people in, I train them, I get them to a standard, I educate them. As you mentioned, someone like Adam Paul Taylor, which is a good guy. He's a good guy underneath everything. If whatever you see, he's a good guy. Um, and whatever our relationship, he did whatever he wanted to do for his own rights, and that's what he needs to do. That's perfectly fine. The problem is, people know if you rock with me, you're fucking pretty good.
Mm.
And what tends to happen when people want money, they chase money. So my guys get poached a lot. I'll never compete with anybody for price because I don't want to. Because if someone can buy you, then I don't want you. I don't want you around me. I don't want you near me. I don't want you coaching my guys. I don't want you in my space. I don't want you using my name. I don't want anything got to do with you. If you can be bought, you're not my guy. So that's really important for me. So I have always kept my circle pretty close and tight.
Sure.
Because the other side of it is, if you can be bought, then you're not really ethically who I want around me. Because if I give you 10 and someone else gives you 11, you're going to go with the 11 because your philosophy is money and that's all you care about. So
Yeah.
I stopped hiring and hiring and hiring and hiring. I put all of them on. So now it's like you got to earn you got to earn that type of loyalty and respect. Because if you think about when you're hot and you're like a sun, people associated with the sun are also hot. They also get the raise. They also get brand association,
Of
um,
course.
which pretty much puts most of them on. But as you get colder and colder out into the universe, if you're not able to recreate heat yourself, which is attention and eyeballs and interest, then you eventually go cold, and then that's how you end up in a $97 school community like all of them do. That's just the truth. You're laughing because you know it's true. That's what it. I started off selling it for 3K. Now I'm selling it for 5. It peaked at 6,500. Nobody wants to buy it, so I have to keep coming down. And eventually I'm going to wrap it all up. I'm coming out of the coaching world. I'm wanting new adventures, but I'm going to put all my training in a $97 a month process. If you want to let me know. That's how it works. That works. So we keep it nice and tight because we want the right people with us at every one time. Um, and that's the game because I don't want to be in a position to keep making people, churning people out that I make, and then they go and compete. It's like, what's the fucking point? And they never compete. It's just like, whatever.
Man, I feel that so hard. So, Bill, a bit about me that you probably wouldn't know is I did door to door for like 4.5 years.
Shit.
Um,
Hardcore.
I, yeah, I built my business. I ran my own door to door agency.
Nice.
And in that world, it is very much a dog eat dog world. Every competitor is trying to poach all your guys for more money. And I took a very similar stance as you. Is like I don't compete. Like
Mm-hmm.
the people that are on my team, they got this tattoo right here because it's my fucking logo. Like this is my guys,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
Sure.
And I guess like what do you find now after you've had wins and failures with
Yeah.
building team culture? What is the biggest thing that you can do for someone that is building a team to build that right culture?
Be honest. Be honest. Tell them the truth. Tell them where you are. Tell them what you're making. Tell them how it's working. Tell them what your plans are. Tell them what you're reinvesting. Tell them the truth, the honesty. I've been in spaces where people would lie. And like,
Yeah.
they would be like, and I understand this as a business owner. Um, well, look, I can't give you more commissions because of X, Y, and Z. But next minute, you see all of this stuff going on. You're like, hold on a second, what the fuck is going on here? So it's like you just got to be honest with people. I know I understand as a business owner, when you take all the risk and you put everything on the line, then you should get the line share. That's how it works. That's your payback for the risk that you put into the game all those years ago. And that's your receipts for all of that hard work for years upon years upon years. So I would just say be honest with people. It's the most important thing, and be respectful. And what works for me is like asking people what I can do for them. Meaning, like, where do you want to go and why is it important? What do you want out of all of this? Yes, you want more money, but for what? What do you want to do with all this? Like, because
Mm,
if I can help you achieve that, then people know that I have the right intentions for them, which I always do. If you're just honest with people and transparent with people, people can make a decision whether they're going to work with you or not. You got to tell them your goals, but you have to ask them their goals and figure out does their goals get achieved within your big umbrella. You know what I mean? Because if you don't, you're just going to keep churning people in and out all the time. Your goals have to be associated and targeted in my goals. You have to achieve your goals. If my goal is achieved, your goal has to be achieved as well. Now we're aligned. Now we're together. You know? So that's how it needs to
100%.
work. But also it's like you gotta respect people. You gotta like so like fragments, like you go into any of my communities, it's me and the team on any of the billboards or wallpapers or this, that, the other stuff. Now the marketer at the moment is like putting all my pictures up, and I'm like, bro, you gotta share it out. It's not the Bill Welch show.
Mm,
If it was going to be the Bill Welch show, I would have said Bill Welch coaching. I didn't. I said the objection box because it's not just me. It goes beyond me. My brothers and Nikki and Kieran and the marketers and all the guys that we have in the background consulting and building with us. It's not my company. It's our company. It's ours. All of us together. We all have a piece that have deserved the piece. Um, and that's the right way of doing it. It's not the Bill Welch show. I never wanted it to be the Bill Welch show. And if you're in a company where it's the Liam Shaw show, people won't get behind that,
yeah.
especially if they believe and have value in themselves. If they want to be a leader too in their own right, they're never going to fall under your name. This is what happens with people that make it about them, like Andy Elliott or, the Andy Elliott group.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying to you? It's like, great, I
Yeah.
can we can exchange value but I'm not going to be here under the Andy Elliott group forever and always. Why? Because maybe I want to have my little department of the objection box and I want to grow that part and I want to take a piece of that pie. You could never take a piece of someone's pie if their name is over the door. It doesn't really work. Because you can't,
It's true.
there's no real validation in what you bring to the table because it's always going to be Andy Elliott or it's always going to be Jeremy Minor. If you think of NEPQ, what do you think of? You think of Jeremy. If you
Jeremy
think
Minor.
of NEPQ, so there's no real separation. Where my job is like at the start of a business, there has to be one star in theory. And then
Of course.
after a while, once you start winning and winning and winning, then you get to share it out, and then it's all going together. You know what I mean? But my job is never to be the Bill Welsh show. I don't want it. It's like I don't want to be fucking famous. You know what I mean? I don't want people to know my name. I don't want people to see me when I walk into a room and know who it is. That's like for celebrities. I don't want to be that. I want to be world renowned for what I do, and I want to help a ton of people. That's it.
Now,
Oh,
Bill, I want to be respectful of your time, and we are coming up to the hour, my friend.
yeah.
Last question for you.
Go for it.
What is your best piece of advice for new people that are within sales? They've jumped in, they're in the sales space.
Mm.
What's your best piece of advice for them?
Um, you got to learn. You got to learn whatever you feel you need to learn faster than everybody else is learning it. So if someone's learning for an hour a day, you got to put 2 hours in. If someone's working for 5 hours a day, you got to work for six. There's a space and time at the very front when volume is going to get you better than skill. So it's like you got to learn quickly in order to work quicker. That's the first thing I would say to you. I would also say, which is really important, and I see this a lot, where you start is not where you're going to end up. So people are like, oh, I only want to work with this company and this type of company and that type of company. There's two things that you need to have uh, at the front of every concept. You need exposure and you need education. Exposure is I need enough opportunity to be able to use my education to create more opportunity. Does that make sense? And then there's two P's that need to come into this then as well. So everything's in twos or threes. So the two P's then are really important because now you need to perform and you need to produce. So let me go back for all of you fucking queer lesbians. The first thing is really important. You need to have exposure and you need to have education. Exposure is you need to be on enough calls and enough opportunities. You need to be able to interact with enough people. That's really important. And that's worth more at the front than any amount of money you're going to get. The second thing is you need an education. And an education is really important because if you're going to get exposure and people are going to be under the spotlight like you are, you're going to have a high level of skill sets to be able to turn that education into exposure, which is going to create production and performance. So the two E's feed into the two P's, which will feed into the three R's, which will then tie into the three C's. There you go. Does that
There
make
we
sense?
go. We'll leave all the links for all the analogies down below, you guys.
I'll give it to you quickly. So the two E's are really important. So they're like, they stack on each other, and people are like, fucking hell, he's a really educated man. I am. You're right. Two E's exposure, education. Yeah. Which will
Yeah.
feed two P's, which are going to be performance and production. Production is like, this is the dollar amount that I'm bringing in every call. The performance is like, this is the standard that I hold in terms of what you give me. 6 calls a day, 4 sales on repeat, which is going to feed into your 3 R's, which is your results, reputation, and then relationships, which is going to make you a better opportunity moving forward, which has to feed in then to the 3 C's, which is your confidence, certainty, and conviction, who you are, what you bring to the table, and what you're able to do. Make sense?
It does make sense, my friend.
That's what you need to work on. And it's going to take you a period of time. People are like, oh, I've been in sales for 3 months and I haven't made any money. Yeah, try 3 years, dickhead. And let's see how much money you make then. You got to earn
Exactly.
your seat at the table, as they say. That's how it works.
Look, Bill, I really appreciate you coming on the podcast. We're going to leave the link below, but as normally I ask guests where they can find you, but I
Yeah.
don't think that's a question that needs to be asked because it's at the objection box.
Probably not. At the objection box, drinking a pint of Guinness at the bar. There you go. Liam, legend, buddy. Thank you, my friend. We had some fun, didn't we?
100% we did, my friend. Guys, if you like this episode, like, comment, subscribe, and stay tuned for any future episodes. Let us know in the comments what your favorite part of this was.